What's up everyone, it's Karthik with MoneyVest. This is going to be your daily technical and fundamental update on a Tesla, PLTR, NVDA, and Sofi, 3 of the 4 stocks selling off yet again, with PLTR leading the charge, down a little bit over 3% on the day, trading down to now under $65, with NVIDIA also down almost 2% on the day. NVIDIA, of course, is dealing with its own problems with the trade restrictions and sanctions being put on by the current administration. Palantir with a new note from Jefferies calling it for more potential downside given the valuation. And SoFi was just down about 0.5% as President Biden forgives another, I think, 150,000 borrowers worth of loans, student loans. And then, of course, Tesla ripping over 2%. I think after hours, it's pushing up even more after a new upgrade from Morgan Stanley, increasing the price target on this stock as well. So I'll go over my positions. I'll go over the technical updates, and I've actually got some very interesting data points for all of you to understand and know about these companies, from stocks seasonality, as well as looking at the volatility and understanding the fundamentals and the technicals as well. So hope you all enjoy this video, find it helpful. Make sure that you drop a like and subscribe to the channel, and share this video with other traders and investors who want to know about these 4 fan favorites. And always make sure that you also check out the links down below if you're interested in joining our MoneyVest community as well. So again, there's a 16% additional discount that you can also access on an annual basis. This gives you access to all the trade alerts, all the members only videos, portfolio updates, the MoneyVest website access. Everything is going to be available with the link down below. So you'll pretty much get access to everything that we have to offer. So first things first, let's go over to the actual positions. S&P 500 was barely up 16 basis points. Tesla was the only stock among these 4 pushing up over 2%. Everything else was selling off. So these were my Tesla calls, Tesla and Palantir calls that are up over 45% now. So this one I'm actually planning on closing out fairly soon. Ideally I like to wait for, like I said, 70 to 80%, but I'm happy to take this profit and then also open new ones, maybe at a sub $100 call strike. These ones were actually way up at one point during the day, so they were actually up over 40% for this one, and this was way above 50%. I didn't close this out yet because, like I said, I'm looking for more percentage-wise, because they are still way out of the money, and so they have the potential to be up significantly more. So if you've got a winning trade, let it ride out, let it be, like, don't touch it. And of course, in most circumstances, this is going to be more, unless of course Tesla rips to the moon, well over $800 by the end of this year. But then of course my underlying position will make up significantly for whatever this hedge ends up being. At the same time, you end up keeping the premiums anyway. So that's one of the best parts about selling options in the first place. So this right here is my options portfolio. So this is my second portfolio that I have. So NVIDIA, again, these are the open positions with 600 shares, and the put that I've sold for this Friday is already up. I think it was up a little bit over 17%, surprisingly really low. It's a $124 put strike, so the put strike is 124. The price traded at 133, so I'm still a little bit out of the money. And this right here is going to be the covered calls that are up over 21%. My SOXL puts, which are at 22.50 right now, are also up almost 40%. So this one I will be closing out very soon, looking for 70 to 80%, like I said. That's kind of like my profit target in most options that I trade. And then, of course, the Tesla position up almost 60%. And the covered call is obviously deep in the money. I've been rolling this out for weeks after weeks, and I will continue to roll it to as much as 300, 350, as high as I can get without pushing my expiration out too much. So 270 right now is the call strike for that. So those are the open positions, and let's now jump into the technicals. I've also included this column, which is DTE. This is not days till expiration, but instead days till earnings. So there's a little bit of difference there. This is today's date. This is the earnings date. So the closest one is SoFi. SoFi reporting in exactly about 2 weeks now. Their earnings are scheduled for January 27th, followed by Tesla, which is going to be just over 2 weeks, 15 days until earnings. And then, of course, we've got Palantir in about a month, and then NVIDIA just over a month. So those are the number of days left for these earnings. All-time highs, they are still down anywhere from 13% to as much as 50% for Sofi. NVIDIA and Tesla are in a correction. Palantir is still in a bear market, and Sofi, of course, is in a full-blown crash considering the all-time highs and where we're trading. Valuation-wise, I still do like NVIDIA more than any other stock on the list. Of course, Sofi is also up there. I actually did pick up some Sofi today. Picked up about 90 shares, just dollar cost averaging a little bit, considering that these are, in my opinion, very good buying levels. And of course, I picked up exactly at 1375, by the way. That was my support level, and it's still trading in a downtrend. Same as Tesla. Despite the rally that we witnessed today and after hours, it is still in a downtrend, and NVIDIA is trading very much sideways, and Palantir did see a little bit of a breakdown. In fact, it is still also in a bit of a downtrend, as I'm going to go over the technicals and show you guys. Now, before we move into that, I also want to break down the cost basis for these companies. And again, before we do that, there's a lot of data for us to go over. This was the Morgan Stanley's upgrade. So increasing their price target on Tesla from 400 to 430 with a new bull case target of $800 per share. They mentioned that Tesla's advancements in autonomous vehicle technology and its integration embodied AI are highlighted as key drivers for the updated valuation. And this right here was from Jefferies, seeing more potential downside on Palantir despite the recent sell-off. And they're really just talking about the 46 times enterprise value over 12 months worth of revenue. So again, the price to sales multiple, which we have talked about. So you can also see that on our spreadsheet where the price to sales is 58, almost at 60. Those are very, very high numbers, right? So those obviously, we understand the Palantir's valuation is in question here, and it's obviously keeping a lot of investors on the sidelines. And then you also have the 10b5-1. The insider selling plans continue to increase, with CEOs selling over $2 billion worth of stocks and executives also selling over $600 million worth of stocks in the last 5 months. So the analyst tells investors in a research note titled Multiples Coming Back from Outer Space. And again, Jeffrey points out that Palantir's active institutional ownership increased 5 points to 32% after the NASDAQ 100 inclusion. So there's definitely a lot of institutional involvement, but of course we cannot disregard the valuation altogether. So let's take a look at some of the cost bases and the structure of where we can actually expect a lot of support for these companies. And so this is the average cost basis for all Tesla investors according to Webull. And so $354 is the average cost basis across the board for all Tesla shareholders according to Webull, and the closing price was $403. So we've got total profited shares at over 66%, meaning that 2/3 of shareholders and investors in Tesla are currently profitable despite the 16-17% drawdown that we're seeing from all-time highs. So based on this analysis, there's a lot of demand sitting here in the 350s, obviously. There's a lot of demand, of course, sitting in the 200s. And there's also a lot of demand right here in the low 400s down to 375. So those are levels that we have also highlighted in our technicals. Coming over to Palantir, you'll notice that we've got massive demand, obviously, in the 30s. Then we've also got maybe a little bit of demand here in the low 60s. And low 60s and high 50s is something that we have talked about on the channel in terms of the support levels, technical support levels for Palantir as well. And you've got the average cost basis at 67.21 with a closing price of 64.98, which only makes 29% of investors currently profitable. I'm actually quite surprised how quickly and how aggressively this cost basis has moved up for Palantir shareholders, considering that a lot of buying frenzy happened towards the end of this move, and a lot of buyers are now trapped in Palantir. You can see majority of shareholders are actually in the red. So we got about almost 70% of investors in Palantir that are actually in the red after Palantir dropped over 20% or so from its all-time highs, and it's officially in actually a little bit, so it's in a correction, right? Just want to double check. In a bear market, so it's down over 22% from its all-time highs. So yes, in a bear market, it's put down 70% of investors in the red. So they're underwater, considering that a lot of buying happened towards the end of that move. So that's why we have to be very careful with valuations, because this is what happens when you are kind of chasing a stock, to the moon. And next thing you know, the valuations come into question. There's a lot of profit taking, and there's a correction that's overdue. and then the stock drops 20-25%, and next thing you know, 70% of traders, investors are underwater. SoFi, we've got 31%, very similar profile to Palantir. However, you can see that there is a lot of buyers from the low 10s and 11s as well. So there's definitely a lot of demand that's been coming in there. But then, of course, you've got a lot of people that are still holding these shares from the 16s and 18s and 20s and 30s. And as a result, only 70%. Well, I should say only 30% are profitable, 70% are in the red for SoFi. And finally, come over to NVIDIA. As expected, majority of traders like Tesla are in the green for NVIDIA as well. 64% of them are in the green. Majority of course, buyers stepping in the 100s, even sub 100s, in the 120s. I myself picked up a lot of shares at 107 with my cost basis down in the low 100s now. But of course, there's still a lot of traders, investors, about 30% or so, still trapped in NVIDIA. Considering that they picked up the shares at much higher levels. Now, coming over to some of the features from MoneyVest platform, if you scroll down a little bit, you can also start to see the stock's seasonality over the last 5 years. And what you'll notice is that January and February have been a bit of a coin flip for Tesla. And Tesla, as we already know, and we've understood this over time as we've been trading it for a long time, summer months are usually the best months for Tesla. It's usually the summer months like June, July, and May. More specifically, June and July. I've noticed this for the last couple of years already, that those are the months that Tesla has the best performance. Summer is when Tesla rallies, right? That's why we trade a lot of options around the summertime for Tesla. So June and July, you can see there's an 80 to 100%. 100% of the last 5 Julys, Tesla has been up by an average of about 17%. Think about that for a second. 100% Julys over the last 5 times, Tesla's been up 17% on average. That's an incredible amount of probability there. Seasonality is very strong in these summer months. If you compare that to, let's say, something like NVIDIA right now we're looking at, so if you scroll down, also very strong in the month of May and June, even February. So going into February, going into next month, I would be very confident trading NVIDIA. So this is the kind of analysis that you can utilize and use it in your own trading or investing style, right? So February, 80% probability that NVIDIA is going to be higher in the month of February, especially if you consider the last 5 years. It's been higher every single time except for 2022 when we were in the middle of a bear market. And even then, it was only down 41 basis points, so less than 1%. So probability very high in the month of February for trading NVIDIA. If you come over to Palantir and SoFi, though, the probability is not that great. Also because we don't have a lot of data for these companies, because SoFi has not really been public for 5 years. And I think Palantir also went public in 2020 or 2021. But the bottom line is that we obviously don't have very, very strong months in front of us. I mean, the seasonality is pretty poor. It's more of a coin flip for both of these companies. But once again, if you come into the summer months, June, July is when that actually increases significantly. It kind of helps you a little bit on your trading. And we've got May for SoFi. So February, November, February is going to be for NVIDIA. Then you've got summer months pretty much across the board. All of these companies have tended to do really well from a seasonality perspective. So coming over to the market technicals for these stocks, you've got SoFi right about here, trading at a support. So this right here, very, very strong area of demand as we have discussed. And like I said, I picked it up at 1375, kind of picked up at the lower end of the trading prices today. I don't know if prices are going to be hitting even lower. In other words, are we going to see a breakdown below this level or not? But if I find good opportunities, if I find good deals, I am going to be buying it and dollar cost averaging and trading it regardless of whether there's more downside or not. I'm fully aware that this can obviously break down further. There could be more downside from these levels. But if the risk reward makes sense, I'm not going to wait for lower prices because that may never happen. So we have to go into this with the mindset that, okay, the risk reward looks good. I'm going to make a decision today. And if it goes lower, which it very well can, then I will be more aggressive to buy more. So hope that makes sense. We're not trying to make predictions, but we're trying to position ourselves with the best risk reward setups as we can find. So you've got a very good support here at 1350, 1375 for SoFi. We'll find out over the next couple of days. Inflation is coming out on Wednesday, whether SoFi gets that momentum back up to rip past 1485 up to $15. And that's where the lower high is going to be sitting. As I mentioned, still within the context of a downtrend, as you can see this very clearly on this chart. Same as Tesla. If you take a look, we are in this downtrend, lower highs and lower lows. If you come over to the 4-hour chart, we did see some momentum coming in. after the closing bell because of the upgrade from Morgan Stanley. I think it was up another 2% right now. And so we could easily break above 407, 410. I think it was trading at 412 after hours. Let me just quickly check here. So this is Tesla. So $413. It was up another 2.5%. So we could easily break above this level, but the level that really needs to be taken out is 420 to 429, 430 basically. So that $10 range, that's where this resistance is for Tesla. So if we take out this level, then I believe all long bets are on and back on the table. But until then, there is going to be a lot of resistance and supply in and around these levels. You can even take a look at this from a 4-hour chart. We've been getting rejected here couple times already. So that's the level that I'd be watching, 420 to as much as 430. Now coming over to Palantir, and Palantir also in a little bit of a downtrend as we have discussed. However, there is some buyers now finally starting to step in. There's a little bit of that exhaustion of that selling pressure, still down 3% on the day. So we're kind of in this lower low, tagging this support at around $64, $65. So a technical rebound is a possibility considering just oversold conditions right now. RSI, MACD, the L3 banker oscillator, everything's stretched to the downside. So keep in mind there is a potential there for us to get back up to 68 to as much as $70. But then, of course, we're still within the context of this downtrend, and a much stronger support sits in the low 60s. And finally, coming over to NVIDIA, a lot of consolidation there. I've got the 124 puts and the 140 calls. 140 calls are out of the money. 124 puts are also out of the money. So both puts and calls are out of the money right now for NVIDIA. So in the perfect world, NVIDIA would trade between 124 and 140, and both of those would expire out of the money, and I'll end up collecting the entire premium. But depending on what happens, I will manage my trade accordingly. And resistance right now is going to stay put at 133 to as much as 136, 137. So anything inside this red rectangle is an area of resistance. If it breaks back out above this level, next target is going to be 144 to as much as the all-time high, 150. But the bottom line is that NVIDIA right now is very much trading sideways. So this right here is the range within which it's been consolidating. So it's a perfect pattern for me to be trading options and running the wheel, because that's exactly what I want. I want sideways action for a stock that I'm selling puts and calls on. That's why I said the ideal price would be somewhere between 124 and 140. So we'll find out how it trades over the next several weeks. So hope you all enjoy this video and a complete update on these 4 stocks. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. I will most likely be trading NVIDIA in February. And then, of course, summer months are meant for Tesla, Palantir, Sofi, because seasonality is very strong for those stocks during the summer months, and including NVIDIA as well. So I'll keep you guys updated with my trades, with my positions. If you want more detailed analysis and, of course, alerts, real-time alerts sent to your phone on the Discord app, link's going to be down below if you want to join, of course, be a part of our MoneyVest community. Until then, happy investing. I'll see you all in the next video.